before we put it out, the website go off empty handed. Right. Because it was, I don't know what happened. I agree. Hold it, I thought I wrote it on there. I thought it's actually Clark Pleasant. That got pushed over. It's Center Rose there. That's Clark Pleasant.
Gotcha.
Whenever it was copied, you know how formatting works? That's Clark Pleasant's.
Good evening and welcome to it is now 7 o'clock. Welcome to the Metropolitan School District of Martinsville School Board meeting. On behalf of the school board, we thank you for being here in person or virtually. I'm Matt Hankins, president of the school board. To my left is Heather Staggs, vice president. To her left is Luke Jackson, secretary. To his left is Dan Conway, board member. And to his left is Jackie Deckard, board member as well. To my right is Superintendent Eric Boland, and to his right is Mrs. Susie Lips, assistant to the superintendent. We appreciate you all being here. Also, we are using new live stream video software, so please allow grace for any incidental mishaps. So if everyone would please rise, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. All right, I would like to welcome everyone, and we would like to always start out with our school district, the student recognition, and we have Miss Shannon Adams from Martinsville High School to come and present with us.
Thank you. I am here for Principal Jeff Bell tonight. There's quite a bit of doings going on with the Kuntz Relay, and so there's a lot going on at MHS tonight. I think there was also a potential mock critical incident, like with regard to managing a heart situation. There was some practice at the high school today as well. So we are very, very fortunate at Martinsville High School to have just an incredible amount of amazing students, and we would just like to highlight a few of our students and or programming that we offer that is just above bar and amazing here at MHS. And so our first student recognition is if we could have Mr. Meyer and perhaps maybe, I don't know, one or two, three, Jay showed up, okay, to talk about our Rewind program. Something that's been fortunate this year is I have watched a lot more live stream from high schools and then small colleges. And our kids are just really, really good. And Mr. Meyer is absolutely amazing with these kids. I had the great fortune to kind of hang out with him during a game, and He was managing at least 4, if not 6, completely different setups. It was seamless. It was amazing. Absolutely. We are so lucky to have this program and to have Mr. Meyer and our kids. So, Mr. Meyer, would you mind talking about your program for just a quick moment?
There.
They say here.
It's better for streaming if you're up there. Even though with the new mic system,
Oh, that's
they
good.
were able to
We could
hear
use
some
that.
of
All
you
right,
there.
cool. Hey, thank you. Thanks for inviting us here to talk just briefly about our program, MHS Rewind, the radio and TV broadcasting program at Martinsville High School. I have with me 3 people. She mentioned the Coons Relays going on. The majority of my kids are at that tonight, participating in that. Some people working as well. But I have with me Jace Malin, Maddox Dilly, Bo Dilly as well. So those are 3 of our kids and are really great contributors to our program. Mrs. Adams mentioned the fact that we have kids doing live streams, and those 2 guys are the voice that you'll hear quite a bit, along with Jack Reeves and Nate Long, and they do a great job, not only during the games, but in preparation for those contests. And they're learning a lot of skills. They're emailing coaches. They're talking to our coaches. They're doing research. They're doing that basically on their own time as well to try to provide coverage. And I think what's a great testament to the job that they do is we get compliments from people around our community. That's awesome. But it's when Coach Staggs and the other people say that the other teams are calling them and telling them how great of a job. Or I get an email back from Ron Colley's softball coach, this 2-time state champion, who's saying, hey, your kids are doing a great job in their prep. That's where we really are trying to make a difference. And so, those kids do a great job in doing all that, in addition to everything else that they're doing here. So we just appreciate the support that you guys give us, the opportunity for them to allow them to grow and do something that they like. If they want to do it as a career, great. But if they don't, it's still great opportunity for them as well. So we appreciate you guys having an opportunity here to recognize us. Real fast, we went to the Indiana Association of School Broadcasters state conference and competition. That's our normal conference that we go to every year. And the kids were able to win 3 first place, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 3 honorable mentions. It's not where we want to be. We want to be even more, but it's better than where we've been in the past couple of years. And so these kids have been a great addition, and they're the reason why they're bringing home those awards and doing those kind of things. And they're continuing to work because, what was it, yesterday, all 3 of you guys are out at your house shooting a short film, so after school. So congratulations to them. They do a great job, and I'm just honored to be a part of this and the school district. So thank you. They do not want to talk, though. Is that all right?
What's that?
They do not want to speak.
They're shy.
They are
Oh,
camera
I've heard
shy.
I've heard them do too
Especially
many
the
games.
Dillies.
They're good. Yeah. Are they related? Thank you.
Next up, I believe this, we received this recently. We have been notified that one of our students is a National Merit Scholar nominee. This is an incredibly high bar. An incredibly small percentage of students earn this honor. And I would like to introduce Ms. Emma Heacock.
Hi. It's really an honor. I suppose I'm a National Merit Scholarship finalist. So I think earlier, I can't remember, maybe October-ish, I was here to talk about the National Merit Scholarship semifinalist award that I received. And I submitted the scholarship application, and just recently, a few months ago, maybe 1 or 2, I was notified that I was now a finalist. So that narrowed down 16,000 people to 15,000. So I'm still waiting to hear if I did win a scholarship, but it's just an honor to be even a finalist with 15,000 people out of all juniors and seniors. So it's just amazing. I plan this next year to study chemical engineering at either Rose-Hulman or Purdue. I've narrowed it down to those 2. I'm still making my decision.
Rose Hallman. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry, Emma. Your parents know me.
But yes, it is definitely an honor, and I hope I can take it with me as I go to college. So thank you.
Great.
And thank you again to Emma. I think I asked her if she would please speak, and I put her on the spot a little bit. And honestly, chemical engineering, what chops to be able, not in my wildest dreams could I have majored in chemical engineering. So it's very impressive, very impressive. We have a third group of students, student organization sponsor, sorry, not a representative, a sponsor with a couple of student representatives, and that is Mr. Bob Cragen with our DECA and BPA chapter, and I believe he has Andrew and Rajvi with him. And so, Mr. Cragen, if you would come speak about your kids and their program.
I have no problem bragging about these two and all the DECA students that we have. Thank you for the opportunity to provide these kids the opportunity to excel in DECA, because it's been a great program. And it's definitely changed since the times when I was in DECA. Thank you to the school board for the support, the administrative staff, specifically Mr. Hankins, because like I said, DECA has changed a lot since I was a member of it, and I would be lost without the guidance of you. So it's nice to know that you're going to be around at least another 10, 15 years to go to as a mentor, and that's good to hear. I know that continued support will always be there. So, but if we provide a pathway for these kids to excel, they're doing that. They did that this year by starting a small business that we titled Artesian Ice. It really separates the workers from the non-workers, and these kids are building a work ethic and a self-motivating responsibility on a daily basis by getting the job done. And they did well at state this year. They brought home the DECA Gold, which is an honor. They got invited to nationals over their small business, and it was a strenuous process of creating a business plan and putting together all the business aspects in a way that was easily understood in a tough competition. And I was really surprised and happy for the kids when I saw them excelled with the DECA Gold. So without further ado, I'm going to let my president speak, and she'll show off that DECA Gold that they brought home, and they got them the invite to nationals, and I'm super proud of them. So the kids are great. The kids are great. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Rajvi Patel, and I'm DECA president at Martinsville High School, and we brought this, which is called SBE, School-Based Enterprise, this year, and we want to have it one more time next year. Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to showcase our students and our programs. We are very, very proud of these kids. I can tell you I see them working on things in the building, and it is very nice to see the diversity of kids that we bring together from different friend groups, in different levels of class, in different levels of academic interest, and you see a lot of overlap there. Not a lot of overlap, but a lot of blending as well, and it really is very, very nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for those groups, and that's what we enjoy having, is all the student recognition that we can show, and it's such a great thing to see that our high school is really excelling in different programs. Now, if those groups would like to, we could give them an exit to leave right now before we start our
Or
regular
they can stay for
session.
the riveting board meeting. We'd even let you do play-by-play, guys.
Now, do we have any, before we get started on our consent agenda, do we have any public comments regarding agenda items? We do? Okay. Let me first of all say that a visitor who wishes to speak regarding an agenda item may do so at the discretion of the board, president of the board. The visitor will be required to state his or her full name and will be given the opportunity to speak, not to exceed 3 minutes per person. effort to fairly adhere to the 3-minute guidelines for all speakers, we will present a timer on the interactive panels. Board members will listen to the speaker, will not engage in back and forth conversation. Board feedback or answer to questions will be provided before the next board meeting or at the beginning of the next board meeting. At the conclusion of 3 minutes, speakers will be asked to return to their seats. It shall not be permissible to orally present or discuss complaints against individual employees of the MSD of Martinsville at any Board of Trustees meeting. Such charges or complaints shall be presented to the Board of Trustees in writing and shall be signed by the person making the charges or complaint. Boisterous conduct shall not be permitted at any meeting of the Board of Trustees, nor will any defamatory or abusive remarks be tolerated. We appreciate everyone's civility in maintaining a business order as has been the practice at school board meetings. So if that person would please come forward to speak.
Yes, my name is Mark Murray. I'm actually addressing the D1, the field trip for the band, orchestra, and choir to go to Disney. I'm hoping tonight that you guys will vote that for that and everything. I think that's a great opportunity for our kids at the high school. We got a lot of talent in the music program and everything, and I think it is to their benefit to either, I think there's a couple choices depending on how many actually sign up, whether they get a play at Disney Springs, or I remember a few years back, me and my family went to Disney Springs, and there was actually a school there actually playing at the time. It was a joy to see kids being able to do that. And I think the other option is a professional thing, professional like teaching moment and everything that they get to do. So either one of those opportunities would be great for our students and everything. I know mine is really eager to hear whether it gets passed tonight or not. So I just wanted to thank you for your consideration on that.
Thank you. That's all? Okay. Then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Hey, Matt, one thing on the consent agenda, just real quick, if I can. Eric, when we get these, is there a way to put some of this stuff in buckets to where we have, like you have the utilities together, you have different other things together, like the counseling and the different other bills? Is there a way to kind of come up with something where they're not sprayed between?
I will check with the treasurer
And see what they can come
and
up
see
with
what
on
they
that.
might be able to come up with.
Yeah, because some of them are just all over the board, and I don't think it's date specific on some of, because you'll see Duke
account.
Energy.
It's account specific.
Yes.
It's about coming the fund and account that they're coming out of, Dan. So when you see those spread out, you may see, like, for example, accounts are maybe coming out of a grant. You're going to see that lower down
Yep.
than you would see the education or operation fund, because they're going to be grouped together.
But you won't see that. I agree with some of that. Some of you'll see Duke, and then you'll have a counselor at the bottom. Just if there's a way to kind of keep that a little closer together, and even if it was account specific or account specific, just to kind of keep the groups. I don't know if anybody else. I look at all of them, so I'd just ease it a little bit.
I do, but those accounts mean something
Yeah.
to me because I deal with that. I realize it probably doesn't mean that to everyone else maybe, but I get it, what you're saying for sure.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second
if you're back to the studio yet, Zach, but
to approve the consent agenda.
That was a virtual call-in.
There's storms moving in. That's what it was.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, going to the field trips, Mr. Murray, we're going to go ahead and address one of these. MHS Music Department overnight, that's for March 21st through 26th, 2025. Yeah, just so we're getting ahead of the game there, so they can do all their planning, fundraising, and all of that. I would recommend approval on that one. We'll go ahead and do them individually tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve the MHS Music Department overnight.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve the MHS Music Department overnight. All those in favor of approving the MHS Music Department overnight?
Aye.
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 No.
Motion carried.
The next one is MHS Decathlon and Quiz Bowl overnight in Pittsburgh at the Nationals. That's April 23rd through the 28th. Obviously, recommend approval on this one.
Okay, do I have a motion for the MHS Decathlon and Quiz Bowl overnight?
I'll make a motion to approve the MHS Decathlon and Quiz Bowl overnight, Matt.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the MHS Decathlon and Quiz Bowl overnight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
The next one is the MSJ Reading Science Summit. Ms. Soniga is going to that. That's going to be June 26th, and that's going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio. And she's doing an unbelievable job with our reading program and our reading initiatives. Recommend approval.
Okay, we have we need a motion for the MSJ Reading Science Summit, which Lisa Soniga will be attending.
I make a motion, we approve the request for the Reading Science Summit.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the Reading Science Summit professional travel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Next, we have the reports. Mrs. Lips.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Martinsville Schools welcome new student enrollment. Open enrollment began in January, which is the time period that parents in our district and from other districts can enroll their children of any grade level in Martinsville schools for the next school year. Families can enroll by clicking on the enrollment icon on the district website or by calling Central Education Center. Martinsville schools offer something for everyone: customized scheduling, alternative education programming, virtual instruction, 7 elementaries to choose from, cutting-edge technology for classes and students, Project Lead the Way K through 12, Performing Fine Arts K through 12, in-house special education services K through 12, dual college credit, AP courses, invested staff members, and we cannot forget that Martinsville is the home of 64 academic and athletic state championships. We are pre-K expansion this year. Also here in Martinsville, the MSD of Martinsville is partnering with On My Way Pre-K to expand the pre-K program while providing education by our own trusted staff members. Free tuition and reduced rate scholarships are available to all of the 7 elementary preschool programs. Every family will be able to apply for a free tuition scholarship. Parents can call Central Education Center for preschool enrollment information. Preschool students must be 4 years old by August 1st. Graduation 2024, the pinnacle event for the Martinsville school year is graduation. Graduation for the class of 2024 is scheduled for Friday, May 24th at 7 p.m. at Martinsville High School. Martinsville High School Principal Jeff Bell and senior class sponsor Daniel Urban have invited district staff members to participate in the graduation ceremony by cheering on the graduates in the hallways outside of the auditorium. Summer school. During June, Martinsville High School will offer credit recovery courses for grades 9 through 12 students at Martinsville High School. Students can enroll at MHS with their counselors. Finally, a shout out to all the fine arts students, teachers, and staff in our district for their outstanding displays and performances at last week's Fine Arts Festival. That's all I have, President Hankins. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lips. Now, we have the policy readings. Mr. Boland?
Yes, that's under the report portion of the agenda. Items 2 through 21 are first read policy notifications. There is no vote taken on these at this time. If you have some questions or something you would like to address, bring it to our attention. We'll look at it for these policies and try to make any adjustments before it comes to you on the vote next meeting.
All right.
So this is information only.
All right, and then next on the agenda, old business, and I would like to turn this over to Mr. Boland to discuss some things under old business.
I appreciate that. We wanted to address a few items under old business here. The board took up these items back in the fall. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned from this dais before that I'm not a big fan of social media. I don't know if I've ever said that publicly, but I guess I might want to state that. I'm not a big fan of it because usually it's information that is shared that has not been vetted, hasn't been looked at, it lacks context, things of that nature. And when I saw some of the things going on, for example, regarding taxes, which we all are paying taxes at this time, right? I was like, wow, man, some of these people who I really respect and admire are saying some things. It's like, I don't know if they have all the information. Then I thought, well, we're the ones that need to fill in the gap and give that information, to give the rest of the story, because there's a bigger story to be said, a bigger story to be shared. And now's the time for us to share that so that you see how it actually impacts our kids. I've been here, this is my 30th year. And over the last 10 years or so, we've gone through a couple of different administrations and stuff, and the state changed its funding, how they funded schools back in 2016. But over the last decade, we've had a much lower rate than everybody else. And I wanted to just go through a few things here, because one of the things that I heard from people was Martinsville is too unsophisticated to understand, too unsophisticated to support educational pursuits and endeavors. I take offense to that. I firmly take offense to that, because we have great people here. We have a great community here that supports our students. Now, the challenge is we have to get a vision out there for the community to support. Because what has happened, keeping the tax rate level for the last 8-10 years has had a detrimental impact on our schools. And that's one of the things we want to go over here this evening with you and share that with you, because we want to be open, we want to be honest, we want to be transparent, but you need to know the rest of the story so that you have that in context whenever you have a discussion. One of the things that amused me in some of the discussions and some of the comments that I had forwarded to me and I've had given to me directly, nobody was talking about the tax rate in the other school systems in our county. They were only commenting on ours. Here is the slide that we showed in 2023 whenever the board took the initiative back in the fall to say this tax rate was not going to allow us to be sustainable going into the future. Because as you look there and move to the right, we're lower than everybody else. That's where we were. All we wanted to do as a board and as administration was be up there with our neighbors. That's what we wanted. And that's what the board passed. Had the hearings, did all that, and passed that. And that moved the needle a little bit, but what's that mean? All you see on here is just numbers. What's it truly mean? And this is what I want to show you what it meant to our school system by having the lowest in this area. All of our competitors in the Mid-State Conference, our surrounding districts, we were the lowest. Might not mean anything. Everybody can pat themselves on the back and say, hey, we were the lowest. We're good. Everything's good. We're the lowest tax district in the county, in the area, in central Indiana. Be proud of it. What's the payoff? What's the impact? Well, the next slide will show you the difference, what we missed since 2014 by having the lowest in the county. This shows just our county districts. This shows what we took in. The MSD of Martinsville, we took in $21,445,000. Monroe Gregg, $23 million. So they were almost $2 full million more than us over the same time period. Mooresville, our neighbor to the north, $17 million more over that time period than we took in. If you took $17 million and put it in our budget today, what do you think our treasurer would say? What do you think Mr. Stout would say in operations, being able to take care of facilities? Because we have aging facilities. We have aging facilities, but we had a very low tax rate on top of it, which means we couldn't fix things for the last 10, 15 years. We band-aided things. Kept kicking the can down the road because the easiest thing to do is just keep this going and let the next board take over and let the next board suffer the consequences of where we are and what we have to deal with. But this board, I applaud them. They said, no, our kids are worth it. Our staff is worth it. We're going to address this issue now and for the foreseeable future. That is telling. Let me show you a picture to make it even more telling. The next slide shows you what Mr. Stout's team has to deal with. The picture on the left, Paragon Elementary. They put in new sinks, new toilets, urinals, that type of thing. Overflowing, didn't fix the problem. There's the reason. They had to cut into the pipes, cut into the walls, cut into the pipes. That's what they had from 50 years of, I don't want to say neglect, but deterioration. Things get older. Believe me, I'm 60 years old. I know things get older and are a little tougher. The two on the middle and the right is the high school. When I was at the high school, we had a situation where it was the urinals in two of the restrooms were constantly overflowing. And we were saying to each other as an admin team, my goodness, these kids are flushing paper towels down the urinals. You know, they're stuffing those in there. They're also putting vapes in there. That's what's overflowing every time those kids would flush a urinal. That's what they found when they had to cut into the walls, cut into the pipes. There it is. So all it took was two urinals being flushed at the same time, and guess what was going to happen? They're overflowing. That's our infrastructure. That's just two examples of two restrooms in two buildings in a district that has 10 educational buildings that are all older than these two. That's why we wanted to share that with you. That's the reality of what we're dealing with. But there's more information, and I think it's imperative that we get it. So the board took it upon ourselves to say, all right, that's not acceptable. Whenever we flush, it ought to go down. I had to watch what I had to say. I told my wife I'd be on my best behavior and I wouldn't quote Cousin Eddie. So I'm not. So we took it upon ourselves to say we want to just be up with one of our neighbors that's the lowest, and that's Mooresville. And then there's Eminence and Monroe Gregg. We're not even up to them at all. But we're now, I think, 50 cents higher than Mooresville this year, this assessment. I bet they're turning over in their grave, right? However, the impact of that is enormous for the future, but it impacted our taxpayers here. This should have been done incrementally over the last 10 or 15 years. But you know what they said? And I heard it from some people that were higher up than me at that time. They'll never accept it in Martinsville. They're not sophisticated enough to support education in Martinsville. Even though we had said to them in those settings, yes, they will. They support our kids. It didn't get done. And as a result, we've gone a decade without capturing funds that could help our schools and our students and our programming. That's important to us. Go to the next slide, if you could, please, Courtney. This just shows you the breakdown between operations and debt service. They combine the both, and that's what you got with the slide that was previous. It just sees they're both the taxing, part of the taxing levy. So you just have it. Go to the next one, gives you a wider view of where we fall now. You can see we're still low. The state average, just so you know, is 105. The state average is 105. We're at 79. Mooresville at 78. Now, whenever Mooresville was at 78 for 10 years, we were at 65. So that's where you came up with 17 million that we never collected. But our neighbors to the north were able to collect because I guess our county thinks they're more worth it or worth more. I don't know. But we can't, as a community, accept it that our kids are not worth it. That's unacceptable to me. I think it's unacceptable to everybody here. And I think when you get the real information, the rest of the story, I think people in Martinsville and the MSD of Martinsville proper will support what we're trying to do for our kids. But you haven't gotten that information. All you look at is the tax assessment. And it went up. Nobody's complaining in the other three district entities in the county of theirs going up. Even their assessments are higher because they've been doing that for the last 8 to 10 years. They've been paying it. We haven't. And now we go up to the lowest, which is Mooresville's, and now we're like, our heads are exploding. I don't want that to be where people were right saying Martinsville will not support it, because we were doing that for these last 10 years or so, and now we're confirming what they were saying, and that's unacceptable. So we have to educate our population. We have to let everybody know, and that's what this board is doing, trying to find out what's the best way to move our district forward. We know we have 7 elementaries. I saw some posts that said, and they're not all full. No kidding. We've lost students. We lose students to other districts because of facilities. Let's go to another slide and you'll see why and where that is. This one just breaks it down between operations and debt service again, just for clarity's sake. Now here's the comparison with a wider spectrum of districts looking at 2014 to 2023. There we are down there at the bottom. We have Nineveh Hensley right below us. There we are at 21 million. Nineveh Hensley, that's over there, or in Indian Creek for some people in the audience or in virtual land. That's what they have for the last 10 years. We will show you a slide here in a minute. They'll show that they've upped their game big time since. All right. But just take a look, if you would, there at what we have. I have to get to the slide so I can see it better. For us, the difference between us and Mooresville, there's the 17 million, but go to Richland Bean Blossom, which is a smaller school district than us, 53 million that they've collected in that time frame. We're at 21 million. 53 million to 21 million. What kind of projects, what type of programming, what type of supports for these old buildings could we have been doing during that time period? Then I'm not even going to get to Monroe County, Plainfield, Franklin, Center Grove, Decatur, and Clark Pleasant. I'm not even going to get into them because that's off the chart. But let me tell you this, if we were the state average at 105, the state average over this time period, we would have collected an additional $75 million. That's the state average. But we don't want to support education. So we haven't put forth a vision for these last 10 years to say, this is what we're going to do, this is why we're going to do it, and this is for our kids because they deserve it. That's a powerful slide in itself. The next couple are even more so. Peer comparisons for what is committed, that's on the books right now, moving forward with bond sales, and that's been sold, proposed to be sold, and it's on the book. Look at where we're at. Spencer Owens down there with us, we're at 20 million for what is our next phase. Look at our neighbor to the north of it, or west of us, Monroe Gregg, they're at 28 million. Mooresville, $92 million investment in their kids. Let me state that again, $92 million moving forward. $71 million more investment in buildings, facilities, infrastructure for Mooresville compared to where we are right now. That's hard data. That's facts. That's the rest of the story from Paul Harvey. That's why the board has done and taken upon the initiative to say, we've got to do something. This is unsustainable for us. The last slide, the last part of this is the most telling. This shows what we've done in the past since 2014 and what we're doing in the future, the investment in our schools. This is it. So a lot of those people that I said that I respect and trust, I trust for them to see it, and I am looking forward to having further conversations with them for their support for our kids. Because now you see the hard data. Now you see what is real for us in the MSD of Martinsville compared to our neighboring schools districts here in the county and our conference competitors and our neighboring districts that are not in the conference. This is very telling. For us, for example, we are at the bottom, MSD of Martinsville, 41 million combined investment in our youth. Mooresville, 130 million combined investment since 2014 and going forward. 130 million to 41 million. I'm not a big math whiz and I might not do well on the SAT. However, I can tell you that's $84,464 or $65. That's a lot of money. Difference in investment moving forward. They are in the same county as us. They have a different tax rate and have had a different tax rate. So they've had different funds available to make unbelievable improvements over the last 5 to 10 years. They've done a wonderful job. We've wanted to make some of those, but we don't have the funds to make them. This is where we're at the crossroads. This is where we're at the Y in the road. And Yogi Berra said, when you come to a Y in the road, take it. He said a fork in the road, you take it. We're going to have to. But which direction are we going to go? It's up to us to educate our population and say, this is what we are going to do, what we need to do, what we want to do to support our students and our staff. How's this all impact our staff, for example? Because we have to spend so much money out of our operations fund and it wasn't coming out debt service, we had to transfer money out of education fund, which goes to pay teachers, transfer that money over to operations to keep operations solvent. So what happens to being able to pay classroom teachers? We can't be as competitive as our neighbors because we don't have the funding to be competitive. And then operations pays for transportation, it pays for bus drivers, it pays for custodians, it pays for energy and insurance and all those things. And what's happened to them with inflation? They all go up. Mr. Stout told me that we were looking at energy increases that we've been told over the next 24 months of 18 to 20%. That's real stuff for us. So we constantly have to rob from education fund to pay and keep the operations fund solvent. This board, thank you for saying we're not going to stay at this place forever. Now, should it have been done incrementally all along? Yes. We set up here as the newbies that inherited this, and we would say, yep, should have been done. My mom used to say, don't cry over spilt milk. Okay, that's done, that's passed. What are we going to do moving forward? And we've had a scoping committee. We've been meeting, I don't know how many times we have now met, to talk about what we're going to do with the footprint of our district moving forward. We're going to have to make some changes. Because we've been in this position, we've had to make painful decisions just on, okay, do we have to close a restroom at a school? Or do we keep it open? If we had the funding that we should have had, if we did it incrementally all along, we would have been fixing things all along. And the buildings would not be in the deteriorated state that they're in. And whenever DLZ did their facility study and told us it's going to cost, this just round off around $90 million to just fix buildings, that's a lot. Well, if we would have been capturing these funds all along, we would have the 90 million. We would have been doing it all along. So that's one of the issues that we're struggling with as a board and administration team. Richland Bean Blossom, looking at that last slide, 144 million that they're capturing over this time period. We're at 41 million. $103 million different for the students and staff in Richland Bean Blossom compared to us in the MSD of Martinsville. That's astonishing to me. Now, we could either sit here and say the people who said we're too unsophisticated to support education, we're too much of a rube to do it. We can say, okay, maybe they're right and just tuck our tails and run, or we can say, no. The students that you saw tonight highlighted here, those students are worth it. They are worth the investment. Our staff is worth the investment. Our bus drivers, our custodians, our food service people, our technology people, they are worth the investment. Because this slide shows you what the community thinks about investing in their kids. Look where we are. If we are proud of that, let's keep on going. If we're not proud of that, we've got to make some changes. And the first one would be, please call us if you have a question on taxes, because my father-in-law, first thing he sees the tax, like, wow, they did go up. And then we had a conversation. Yeah, did you know we just got up to Mortimer? And he said, well, you can't keep being second-class citizens. And I thought that was very powerful. How long do we want to be treated as second-class citizens in the MSD of Martinsville? Our students are not second-class students. Our parents are not second-class parents. Our staff is not second-class. This is unacceptable for the MSD of Martinsville, in my opinion. I debunk and push away and push back on the theory that we are too unsophisticated and we're country rubes and we can't support education. Anytime we've ever had a need to support our kids, our community has done it in spades. In spades. They always have. Whenever we had the flood, our community got together and we held a relief concert. I don't know how many of you were around for that. Mr. Helms went out and got Tracy Lawrence to come in, and we raised nearly $100,000 to give to our community because we had kids out of homes and we had families out of homes, and we were able to give gift cards and credit cards and clothing to parents and families and that had lost everything. We were able to do that because our community has always rallied around and supported our kids and our schools. We have failed as administration for the last several years of not trusting our people, not trusting our school community, and not trusting that they will do the right thing and support our kids if they can see that it's to make this at least a level playing field for these wonderful students to be able to compete with other kids. I want somebody to tell me our kids are not worth what Mooresville's kids are, or Monroe Gregg's. We're not even talking Monroe Gregg's at 107. Not even talking that. We're just talking about the one that was next to us, which was Greenwood and Mooresville. And we finally got up to them. And we have people blowing their tops. Okay, now we're getting the information out there. Hopefully that helps. And then some of those people then will back up just a minute, because Proverbs 18:13, it said, great proverb, he who judgeth a matter before hearing it, it is folly and shame upon him. Now you've heard it. Now you got a chance to judge it again. Otherwise, the rest of the verse is applicable. We are not going to shirk our duties as a leadership team for our kids in the future. We're not going to do it. That's why they gave me this superintendent moment. Not a minute, a moment. This is too important. Our students' futures are too important for us to be down at the bottom any longer. It should have been done incrementally. We will continue to move forward and do the right thing for our students in our school community. I'm done, board.
Well, and I agree with you, Eric. I think the frustrating part is that I know not one person reached out to me personally and asked any question. And I feel the same way as you do about social media. So if you're contacting me on social media, you're wasting your time because I'm not on it. And there's a reason for that. So I don't care who it is. If you're a taxpayer, you're a county official, you're a city official, or any other person in this community, if you have a question, I think every one of us up here is more than willing to talk to you and answer your questions. We all have school emails. I know I can speak for Mr. Boland that he's never shied away from hard conversations. So I think if you have questions, I plead with you to please call before you start posting things on social media. Get the facts. Don't speculate, get the facts. And I will address one. I know I'm not on there, but I get sent screenshots. And, one was like, maybe it's the turf project that made our taxes, go up. The turf project didn't cost you 1 cent, not 1 extra cent. So I want to make that very clear. If you have a question, you are the taxpayer. You can ask those questions. You may not like what we have to say. You may not like my answers sometimes, but I have always felt, I do feel, and I will continue to feel that our kids are always worth it. Don't you feel that way? I hope so.
Thank you.
Yeah, and these decisions are not made lightly. There's a lot of thought and worry and prayers that go into these decisions that we're making. To put it in dollars, I looked at my taxes, and with the increase from this school, it costs me and my family 90 cents a day. And I thought, I can't think of a better way to invest my money than in our kids. So I hope that our community can rally behind this and get behind our kids, because they deserve it.
Agreed.
I'm done with old business.
Thank you, Mr.
I
Boland.
apologize. Thank you for your patience and your ear.
Now, moving on to action items, Mr. Boland.
Okay, we have action items. This is your policy update. This is the second read. This is items 1 through 20. I would propose that we vote on them as a block, 1 through 20, unless you want to take one of them out and have any conversation about one in particular. But I would recommend approval for action items 1 through 20.
Okay. we have for policies numbers 1 through 20. Do I have a motion for the policies 1 through 20?
I make a motion that we approve policies 1 through 20.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second that we approve the policy of number 1 through 20 of the Neola. All in favor of the policies 1 through 20 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Okay, now moving forward, we have handbook approval for each of the levels. We have first Martinsville High School, then JRW, then Bell, and then the elementary school contingent. We'll go one at a time for you. So item number 21 is Martinsville High School handbook. I recommend approval.
Here, we talk about this just for a second? I mean, I'm seeing the improvement on the handbooks, which I do appreciate, because from where we were last year to this year, it's better. A lot of the links that we're having, some of these don't have links, some do have links. We're gonna continue to kind of get these as similar as the previous manuals, but it's a lot better than it was, and I hope we continue that path and get some of the Neola stuff linked to it as much
Right.
as grouped together, so if someone has a concern with it, they can quickly get into that, so it's a lot better overall.
Absolutely, and what Mr. Conway is speaking to, the Neola updates that we're having, they are going through the next iterations coming up. So some policies come on, some get amended out and changed, and we have it all electronic now. So whenever you guys approve, then we'll get those all uploaded and try to stay totally up to date on those as real time as we possibly can. So I appreciate that, Mr. Conway. So I would recommend approval on Martinsville High School.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the Martinsville High School 2024-25 student handbooks?
I'll make a motion to approve the Martinsville High School 24-25 student handbook.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the Martinsville High School 2024-25 student handbooks for this year. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one's JRW Student Handbook. I recommend approval.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the John R. Wooden Middle School 2024-25 student handbook?
I make a motion we approve the John R. Wooden Middle School 24-25 student handbook.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the John R. Wooden Middle School 2024-25 student handbook. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is Bell Intermediate Academy Student Handbook. I recommend approval.
I'll make a motion to approve Bell Intermediate Academy 24-25 student handbook.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the Bell Intermediate Academy 2024-25 student handbook. Are there any questions? None appearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is for the 7 elementary schools. I recommend approval of their handbook.
I move to approve the elementary handbooks.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the elementary school 2024-25 student handbooks. Are there any questions? All those in favor of approving the elementary school 2024-25 student handbook signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is extending the Artesian Child Care contract to June 2024. We've made some inroads. Hopefully we'll have something here in May for you. That's our goal, but this covers us for the next 2 months if needed. I recommend approval of the extension.
Do we have a motion to extend the Artesian Child Care contract to June 2024?
I make a motion we extend the Artesian Child Care contract to June 2024.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions on Artesian Childcare contract to June 2024? Not appearing. All those in favor of the motion to extend the contract of the Artesian Childcare contract to June 2024 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is the Ad Tech Agreement for Capital Assets Ledger Services. This is required by the State Board of Accounts every 2 years. I recommend approval.
I'll make a motion, Matt, to approve the ad tech agreement for capital assets.
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ad tech agreement for capital assets ledger service. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is approval for auction items for maintenance vehicles. I recommend approval for putting these on the list.
Okay, do we have a motion for the approval for auction of salvage surplus items?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for the approval for auction of salvage surplus items. Any questions? None appearing. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the approval for auction of salvage surplus items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next one is the Robert D. Blue Endowment Distribution. Annually, we get $20,000 for funds to supplement 2 Martinsville High School teachers and supplies for career activities. I recommend approval.
Okay, do I have a motion for the Robert D. Blue Endowment Distribution? for
I'll make a
20
motion, Matt, to,
All right,
sorry, Heather. I can second it.
okay, I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? This goes a lot. I know there was a thing in there about the career, certification, so I think that's excellent that that goes for that. So, all those in favor of the motion for the Robert D. Blue Endowment Distribution signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
This next one has a number of people excited that I've heard from and heard about. NASP archery program at Green Township Elementary School. It's going to be for 4th grade PE, Indiana DNR. They cover the supplies with a grant. PE teacher will attend the safety and implementation training and implement that for next school year. So I recommend approval.
Okay, do we have a motion for the NASP archery program at Green Township Elementary School?
I make a motion, we approve the NASP archery program at Green Township Elementary School.
No, second it.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the NASP archery program at Green Township Elementary School signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
The next 2 donations we'll combine, but I'll list them individually. We have a donation from Becky Soniga's Trust to the MSD Family Services in the amount of $1,039.36, and a donation from the Indianapolis Colts to Martinsville High School Athletics in the amount of $5,000. So I recommend approval of both of these donations.
And I just want to say, as always, we have a great community, folks. So many giving people in this community, and we so appreciate it. And I'm going to make a motion to approve these donations that's been placed before us.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the donations that have been set before the board this evening. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Now we come to our next portion of the meeting for public comment and announcements, public speaking. Courtney, do we have anybody here to speak? Okay, let me go through the guidelines for the public speaking. At the completion of a regular school board business, a visitor that wishes to speak may do so at the discretion of the president. The visitor will be required to state his or her full name and be given the opportunity to speak not to exceed 3 minutes per person. In an effort to fairly adhere to the 3-minute guidelines for all speakers, will be presented a timer on the interactive panels. Board members will listen to the speakers, will not engage in back and forth conversations. Board feedback or answer to questions will be provided before the next board meeting or at the beginning of the next board meeting. At the conclusion of 3 minutes, speakers will be asked to return to their seats. And let me emphasize, it shall not be permissible to orally present or discuss complaints against individual employees of the MSD of Martinsville at any Board of Trustees meeting. Such charges or complaints shall be presented to the Board of Trustees in writing and shall be signed by the person making the charge or complaint. Boisterous conduct shall not be permitted at any meeting of the Board of Trustees, nor will any defamatory or abusive remarks be tolerated. We appreciate everyone's civility in maintaining a business order that has been the practice at school board meetings.
Hello again. I'm Mark Murray. What I was wanting to speak on this evening is the new law coming out that's, I think it goes into effect July 1st. The House Bill number 1198 regarding cell phone use policy in the Indiana schools. I'm not sure how we're dealing with it as a district. I know I've heard rumors of how the high school was talking about doing it, putting phones in lockers. Has been what my daughter and some of her friends have said they've talked about doing. I know they said they're doing lockers for backpacks, everything. And next year, that's great. We had lockers when I went. So, but I was reading this law and not quite sure if all the items on the law actually line up with putting phones in the lockers, unfortunately. And that's kind of what I wanted, just to, that way you guys actually, I don't know if any of you have actually read that law. I'll start out here. Just, I won't go through the section numbers, all that, but it has the item B on it is each school corporation and charter school shall adopt and implement a wireless communication device policy that, and then it has three things to that. One is accept and provide in subdivisions and prohibits a student from using a wireless communication device during instructional time. Totally agree with that. The second one says authorizes a teacher to allow a student to use a wireless communications device for educational purposes during instructional time. We have our Chromebooks if that was really needed, so that doesn't really affect us too much. But 3, permits a student to use a wireless communications device in the event of an emergency. If it's in their lockers, that doesn't kind of cover that one. And so I was kind of worried about that. So I thought I'd bring it to the board before, because it's kind of above the principles and stuff to make that decision. So I wanted to present that to you guys this evening. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Daniel Pond. I'm an educator. The sign reads, Green Township School, in partnership with the home, provides an educational environment in which all students become successful learners. I agree. An elementary teacher sent a student home with a note. Mom read the letter with tears in her eyes and said, quote, he was so smart that he could no longer be taught at school and that he was going to change the world. Mom committed to teach him herself. After his mother's death, he read what was actually written in the letter. He discovered his teacher thought he was too dumb to learn and was never going to amount to anything. With tears in his eyes, not from what the teacher wrote, but remembering the compassion his mother had for him. This was the effort of Pauline for her son, Albert Einstein. I came home from kindergarten one day and my play clothes were neatly laid out on my bed. Mom never did this before. Under the clothes, I discovered a brand new package containing a United States Marine Corps dress blues uniform for my G.I. Joe. I danced and hollered. This is the first memory of my mother grooming me to be brave. My dad left us about 2 years later. He was shot and killed protecting his second family. It was my mom who was there to encourage me to fight for myself. And fight I did. The Marine Corps didn't need my service or bravery when I became of age to serve, so I found others I could fight for. This is to encourage you parents of school-aged children. Ultimately, it is not the responsibility of the teacher, administration, or the U.S. government to raise and educate your child. That responsibility and honor rest squarely on your shoulders. Today, unfortunately, these caring parents and concerned adults have been labeled domestic terrorists from haters. So be it. But be sure to make these bullies feel the full weight of your life for your child, your grandchild, your nieces and nephews. The American Republic form of government includes our educational system by way of the 14th Amendment. It was intended to include all voices, fathers, mothers, educators, and the children affected, our students. Do not give up. Do not lose hope. You are their first line of defense. Your love will not return void. God promised. Love always protects. It doesn't back down. Love never fails. Be blessed, and thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney. And now we come to our superintendent comments from Mr. Boland.
It won't be like the old business. But I did want to mention, the data was provided by Baker Tilly, our financial advisor. I didn't say that at the outset. I wanted to make sure I went on record with that. And also, so nobody out there calls Dr. Allen up there at Mooresville. I've already talked to him and told him what I was doing today, and he said I would be doing the same thing because he knows that they're at the bottom as well. We just wanted to catch up from the very bottom to the bottom. That's what it was. So I just wanted to let you all know I had that conversation with Dr. Allen. We had a good chuckle over that. Okay, we wanted to make sure that you all mark on your calendars an opportunity to watch Aladdin musical at Smith Elementary. That's going to be April 30th and May 2nd at 6 p.m. Looking forward to seeing those students put on that performance. And then Frozen Junior musical at John R. Wooden is going to be May 3rd and May 4th at 7 p.m. there in the gymnasium. Last year's performance of High School Musical Junior was phenomenal. Looking forward to seeing what the kids put forth here for the Frozen musical. We also, Mrs. Lips talked about the Fine Arts Showcase. We also had the County Unified Track event at the high school last Friday. That was a wonderful event. If you read the correspondent, they had great coverage of that event. Look at the pictures in there and the article. Wonderful, wonderful event. So I thank Mr. Dilly, Ms. Hammonds for their efforts organizing that, putting it together. And the art showcase, obviously, at the Art Sanctuary was phenomenal. What talented artists we have. Mr. Pond, you would like them. I know your art skills. Definitely would appreciate their skills. Want to mention here, even though Heather's up here on the dais with us, can't go without saying Kip Staggs put in his retirement from basketball coaching just a few weeks ago. And I want to thank him publicly for his efforts. Oh gosh, how many years has it been, Heather? 30 years?
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, that's up there with me. We're the long tooth
Yes.
of the district, but wanted to thank him for all of his efforts. His basketball coaching, I did tell him, once I retired from basketball coaching, I've been undefeated. That's a great feeling. I'm going to tell you right now because it burns in me whenever we would lose. But I wanted to thank him, and I know the board would side with us, and we are going through a process, and we'll be doing that here soon to get a new basketball coach. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Bolin. Are there any comments from the board this evening?
I guess I got a couple things. When we look at the decisions that we make as a board, we know there's a ripple effect. There's been a ripple effect we've inherited for years looking at some of these properties. And I think folks just need to understand that it is taken very seriously. I don't know anyone up here that takes it lightly. And when we look at the money that we would have to spend on anything to give Kyle the tools to be successful with some of these buildings, it's something we do take pride to look at that. I want people to understand that, you know, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have conversations. Our country was built on that. We need more of it. I think with an election year coming up, you have a primary coming up where there's, you know, different folks that are going to have to see who runs to the election later this year. But I mean, it's important to get involved. It's important to stand up. Folks don't do it enough. We can agree to disagree and still be civil. And I think that's the piece that has to continue. I mean, even as a board up here and in other roles that we have, it's how we have to get stronger. Not having the conversation makes us weak. We're okay with having that conversation. I'm not a social media person. I find some humor in it to say, where's that person reaching out to one of us? It's kind of makes you feel better, makes you vent, but stand up in a school board meeting, show up at a school board meeting, watch it on TV. I don't think folks do it, and then they wonder what happens, but we've been as transparent, I believe, as we can, and I darn well think we need to do that moving forward even more and show our hand a lot more. But even then, do people pay attention? And I think that's one thing I would continue to challenge the public to give our folks the support they need. We do need to watch the money we spend and make the right decisions moving forward, but it's what we're built on. We've fought for this for many hundreds of years to have that ability to sit up here and do that. I think that's something we got to admire as we move forward also. So that's just my 2 cents on it. Thank you.
I agree, Dan, and also with what Heather said earlier, you know, I don't think any of us take them lightly. Whatever the decision is, whether it's property tax or, I mean, our tax rate or a handbook, we look at every single thing, and I know I can personally say I pray about everything before I come to a decision. I just want to ask you guys to please reach out to us first and get the facts and, you know, make sure, there's not one time I can tell you, since I've been on this board in 2021, and he's sitting back there and he can tell you that. Not one time have I ever made a decision or looked at something that was proposed and say, is this what's best for Phil Deckard? Will this just benefit Phil Deckard? Will this benefit my grandsons? Never, not one time. Have to look at it the entirety. What is best for our entire school district? And that's what I think all of us have to do. We have to look at what is best for our entire school district. And I enjoy being on this board. I like being up here. I take pride in it, and I want you all to know that. So if you have a question, reach out. I'm available. I check my email, maybe not every day, my school email here, but I try to. But I guarantee you, we will all get back to you, and Mr. Bolin or Mrs. Slips, either one will take your phone call. So just encourage you to reach out, and want to thank you for coming here this evening and getting involved. I do appreciate the ones that, you know, come here to the monthly meetings, or if you're even joining virtually, I appreciate that. I would much rather you do that than to post things on social media that are not facts. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Mrs. Deckard. Do you have any other board comments? None appearing. We'll move on. Do we have a motion? Next on the agenda is closing. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.